Welcome to Happy Hour Conversations with Tamika. I am your girl, your host, Tamika R. Moon. Here at Happy Hour Conversations, we are everything her, helping, elevating, and redefining women and using women's voices. So we are 3 days into December. We are 3 days into December. We are about to be into another new year, according to the calendar, into 2026. And so I wanted to hop on here and check on my tribe. Listen, I apologize for coming on. Actually doing this a little late. I'm gonna be honest. The week of giving the thanks was really heavy for me, and so we're gonna jump into that for in a minute. But I wanted to come on and check on my tribe. I wanted to check on all the adult children that have lost their parent, a mom, a dad, or you in this role reversal thing, right? You're taking care of your mother or your father now. I wanted to come on, just kind of check the temperature and kind of see how you all are doing. Last week, the week of giving of thanks, it was for me, it was really heavy. For those who are new here to the platform, I lost both my mom and my dad. I lost my mother in 2019, and I just lost my dad this year. And so it's different. And so I wanted to come on and just kind of check in, like I said, and do a temperature check. But the week of, it was so heavy for me. And I'm starting to realize sometimes you don't really know what's happening. And so I'm starting to realize when I use the term like, oh, I feel heavy, that is really my grief speaking to me. Something is happening and my grief is showing up and I'm grieving. The grief is grieving, right? And so I was on with my therapist the Tuesday of, and I was sharing with her, I was like, man, I just feel really heavy. I feel like something's just weighing on me. In addition to, I found myself like eating my comfort foods, my kettle chips, my cheesecake. Y'all listen, I was going in. And so I was sharing that with her. But in the same breath, while I was sharing that with her, I also said that I actually feel all right about indulging because I know why. Like I understand like this is me trying to comfort something that I can't hold. So I'm grabbing onto chips and cheesecake, right? Um and I was okay with it because I don't indulge or eat comfort foods like I used to, meaning like literally eating comfort foods every single day. Eating a bag of chips and pies and brownies in one setting. So anyway, so I want to come on and just kind of see how everybody else is doing. Um, hmm, yeah, being an adult child who has lost your mom or your dad is different. It is really different, and I don't care how many years you are in this. Like I said, I lost my mom in 2019, so I have some experience and some years there, and I just lost my dad this year, right? So earlier, and so this season in general is just really different. It's really heavy. Uh, and when I say heavy, is because there's many things that have changed in this whole dynamics of losing parents. When you go through this journey, you also realize that you have to make adjustments with other relationships too. I learned that word adjustments in a podcast that I did called Friends Grieving, the Love and Support Affair last month with two other young ladies who one had lost her father, and the other had lost her mom. And so in that podcast, the conversation, I learned that, you don't cut people off, you don't cut certain people off, you don't necessarily lose certain people when you are going through this stage in this journey. You just have to make adjustments, and you have to make adjustments that are best for you. And so in this season, I've also had to make adjustments, and they don't necessarily feel good, right? Um, and so yeah, enough about me. How are y'all feeling? How are y'all feeling? Those who have lost your mom, your dad, had to get through Thanksgiving, the holiday season. I call it the giving of thanks. And then we have Christmas coming up for all of those who, celebrate. And if you don't celebrate, there's always going to be something that that reminds you of your loved one when they transition, your mom or your dad or both. And again, like I said, if you are in this role of being a parent caretaker, because I've experienced both, right? Like one day I had my mom, the next day I didn't. My mom, her transition was very sudden, very different than my dad. My dad, I have been on a journey with him for about 8 years. And these last 4 or 5 has been him being in the nursing home, but me being his caretaker. One of his caretakers. I had someone else that was also helping me, but being the daughter, being the main person to make decisions and all of those things. It's different when the roles are reversed. So, and the holidays doesn't necessarily. Sometimes your brain, when you are used to, I have 40 years with my mom and 40 plus with my dad. And so when your body is used to having a certain memory, it's like your brain is struggling for what used to be, right? And what used to be is no longer. And so I'm finding these new ways and new traditions and new ways to celebrate. And actually, I'm also learning that, I ain't gonna stay here long, but learning and becoming the matriarch, right? It's such a huge word. But like I said, I'm not gonna stay there long. We'll talk about that another day. So I want you all to tell me how you all are doing. For anyone that if this is your first year and you have um this is your first year, you lost your mom, you lost your dad, you may have lost both. This may be your first year being a parent caretaker, right? Being in that role reversal. I want to tell you everything that you are feeling is valid. It is valid. Everything you're going through, just name it, is valid. Why is this happening to me? Why do I have to go through this? Why did my mom have to leave? Why did my dad have to leave? Um, feeling uncovered. Feeling uncovered. That's another that's a whole nother topic to talk about. But that feeling is very, very real, especially if you're a single woman and you're not married. And I'm only speaking from my experience. That feeling of being uncovered is real. So I just want to say, for those who this may be your first time and your first experience, every feeling that you have, every question mark that might be just sitting there, the voice that's coming from here, the voice that's coming from there, it's all valid, right? It's valid. Um, but I do want to give you all some homework. Yep, I want to give you all some homework because, like I said, in my experience, it doesn't stop. This doesn't. It's not that it gets better. You learn, you get tools, and you learn how to navigate and manage life without your mom being here, without your dad being here. And guess what? It's all right to be mad. You can be mad. It's all right to be mad. It's all right to be angry. Get in tune with all those feelings and emotions. But also figure out, how do you want to move on in life? How do you want to honor your mom and your dad, especially during holidays, right? Or during birthdays. But right now we're talking about holidays because that's the season we're in. So figuring out how you want to honor. So here are some homework. Here's the homework that I want to give you because we got to figure out how to navigate and manage this thing. So number one would be find ways to honor your parents' transition, right? That could be doing some of their favorite things. Maybe they like to walk. Maybe they like to cook. Maybe they like to read. Maybe they like the favorite movie. Maybe with a favorite smell. Whatever it is, find ways to honor them in that way, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be during the holidays. Like I said, that's just the season that we're in now. It can be anytime, especially when you feel that grief, feel the weight of the grief. Find ways to honor your parents' transition. Number two, find a grief group. There is nothing more powerful in moving through this thing than having people that understand exactly what you're going through. And just because you may have siblings or family, it doesn't mean that you all always share that same experience, right? And so finding the group that is for you, the tribe that is for you. And um, because we are talking about adult children, I want to encourage you to, if you find a grief group, that is definitely a plus. But if you can find a grief group that is specifically for adult children, which I have found a group in, listen, we are all from different backgrounds. We are all from all walks of life. And it's almost like we know each other because the one thing we have in common is understanding we are out here without our parents. So if you can find a group that's for specifically for adult children who have lost their mom, who have lost their dad, or or this in the role reversal, because we do have some individuals that are in that space that's in the role reversal of taking care of your parent. Find yourself a group. It is so needed, and you will find so much support um, in a grief group, but specifically a group designed specifically for adult children. So that's the homework. Those are the two things. Let me make sure I show one again. One, find ways to honor your parents' transition, and make sure it's something that that lights you up, that makes you feel really good about honoring them and keeping their legacy, keeping their name. And here is two, finding the group. And like I said before, specifically a group designed for adult children. Listen, I just wanted to come on and I just wanted to do a quick check-in. I wanted to do a quick check-in. I wanted to see how people are doing. I wanted to see, especially for my first timers, I want to invite you to a conversation. If it's something that you are looking to talk about, because although we have different conversations, I'm gonna tell you all, I started happy hour conversations with Tamika due to dealing with grief, right? Due to initially losing my mother. But grief is a thing that we don't necessarily talk about, and it's needed, and we need to normalize it. Like, this whole thing doesn't come with no pamphlet. And so when you lose a mom, when you lose your mom, when you lose your dad, and then you have to make those adjustments along on the journey, you have to figure out exactly what works for you, right? Because what works for me may not necessarily work for you. But what I do believe is when we have the conversation and we're all sharing our stories, that our stories, our words, our voices, the things that we say, there can be some takeaways for an individual. So I am your girl, Tamika. What I am doing though, I think I'm gonna do it for the rest of this month and continue it on into the month of. I might just continue it in general, but for right now, I know I'm doing it this month in January. And like I said earlier on, we did a podcast and it was called Friends Grieving the Love and Support Affair. And so if you do find yourself in this space of you lost your mom, you lost your dad, and in this space and don't necessarily have anyone to talk to. Because even when you talk to individuals, if they have not lost their mother and they have not lost their father, if they're not in this space of role reversal, they have no clue what you're talking about. They do not understand. The language is not the same. They don't understand what you're saying. So I've created a space for, and this space is for women only. I've created a space for women who have lost their mom, their dad, and like I said, this in this role reversal, where we kind of get together via chat, Zoom, and we talk about, you know, the things that we're going through. There are some things and some homeworks that I'll give you so we can have dialogue, have conversation, understand what navigating this life is like without having our parents. So if you're interested in that, definitely reach out to me via the email, which I'll make sure I'll drop, or our Instagram page. You can inbox me, or our Facebook page. I just want to make sure I help someone to help, you know, in this journey navigate and normalize what you are feeling. So I'm your girl Tamika. Just want to come on, check in and check the temperature, check on my tribe, and see how you all are doing during this holiday season. And if you feel like that you are in a space where you really, really need to talk to somebody, feel free to hit me up. If you know somebody, if you know me and you know somebody that needs somebody to talk to, and they may not be too comfortable or, you know, talking to you, hey, hit me up and just be like, hey, Tamika, I got somebody. Do you mind talking to them? But you need to also make sure that they're willing to talk as well. So I'm your girl, Tamika, and happy holidays, and we'll talk soon.